JL200, how are you? Summer 2019. So this is the third lecture, and I'm going to kind of bring everything together that we've done, and then we're going to launch into an analysis of generations in the United States. And I'm also going to go over the discussion so that we're clear on what's going on there. All right, guys. So, and my next lecture, then we'll go over creation of your critical thinking assignment number 1. So again, what do you need to do to navigate the course? You click right here in terms of your weekly assignments, okay? And I want to jump right in here to the second part of the course right here. All right, the second lecture. And I already posted the lecture right there, and I wanted to go over a couple of key features of this so that everybody's on board with on what we're doing here. So these figures are what you're supposed to interpret for your discussion in the second discussion, and it's something that I brought up in the last lecture. But again, a key transition in terms of our society, in terms of our financial responsibility. And it's called the dependency ratio, and we look at what the makeup of those people that are not generating income, they're not working for the most part. Okay, we'll look at age 65 here, and we saw this transition that happened right around 2017, where there were more people at age 65 than there were people at less than 5 years of age. What contributes to this? Okay, people are living longer. Okay, we have the baby boom generation. Okay, and we're going to look at that in terms of generations and later on in this lecture. And the science has moved us forward in terms of medicine and also in terms of hygiene and nutrition, and so people are living longer. The other thing that's happening is it's really, really competitive and tough. And in developed countries, people are tending to have children later or not have children at all. All right. So we can look at the kind of social and economic crisis that aging produces. You can look across the board at different countries, and they're looking at this transition where we're looking at age 65 and over, and we see just as an earmark to measure going from 7 to 14% of the population. So that's that's a doubling in the population, and we see that France had a long time to get their act together, as did Sweden here. We had a pretty long time to get our act together too. So we're much better positioned. All these countries, the UK, Japan, you see right here, okay, was pretty rapid, and you see these other countries right here are undergoing rapid changes, and there are consequences for that. Just brute force numbers. You take a look right here, okay, enormous changes in India and China in terms of the number of people that are older. Okay. So then we look at a place like Japan, okay, and the transition in terms of what's happening in generations, okay. So sorry, that's something I'm going to get to in a sec. But what I wanted to do was go to here. Okay, so we see this is from the readings that there's this population decline in Japan, population decline in Russia, etc. Okay, so if we go back over here. Okay, and we look at here. So the consequences is that people are not having children, and so there's a kind of a crisis in terms of the economy and making sure that there's enough population to fill jobs. Okay, and so that's what this is all about here. So this is a great article by Business Insider talking about Japan's fertility crisis and the economic and social woes that it has created. All right, pretty interesting stuff. All right, so I want you guys to get in there and just go to town on the discussion for that. All right, okay, very good. So we're going to go back over here now, and I can go back to my browser. I can click here. I'll just go backward to my browser. Okay, and we're now going to look at the generations chapter. Okay, so this is a great video for you to watch about generations, and it taps right into what we're going to be talking about today. It's hilarious, okay? About what generation we are. First of all, your guys' generation. Every generation is given a name, okay? Given a description, okay? And so we look right here, and we're looking at your generation. And so we were like, what can we do as demographers and social scientists to define these generations so we can then predict social trends, economic trends, and things that influence who you have become, okay? Things that influence me in my youth are different from you. So this is just looking at the number of searches that have been done. In the definition, should we call you a post-millennial? The millennials are just before you. Should we call you the I generation? And by far, it looks like you guys are being called the Z generation. And that's what this is all about. And so here's all the groups. So I'm the boomers, okay? So I was born in 56, and Julia was born the last day, okay? In 1962, she was born in New Year's Eve, okay? Here's, older people, my parents, Generation X, the millennials, and you guys, okay? And then you have to ask yourself, what were the influences that were happening in you that make you who you are as a generation, okay? And so to go into that, we can go into the next one. Again, we've made PDF files. Okay, sorry, there's some noise going on here because I'm getting some work done, okay? Alrighty, so big one right here, the millennials are going to outnumber baby boomers by next year. Okay, so this is a 2018 publication. Okay, second, you can see right here that because of the population explosion, because of changes in our world, the competition that you guys experience in terms of being able to afford things, we have multi-generation households on the upswing. So U.S. is getting a lot more like European countries, okay? Alrighty. What else is happening? Again, it's so difficult on you to be competitive. Women are working. We're going to see that in the next section. And men are working, and you can be like Julia and I. I met Julia when she was 20. I was 26 and a half. We had no money. We had to get our act together. And so what we did was we got our careers in order, and so she had Matt, my first child, even though we had met when she was maybe a week after she had turned 20. We waited till she was 32 and a half, almost 33, before we had our first child. So we were together almost 12 and a half years before we had our first child. Alrighty. We were married 8.5 years though. Alrighty, so what else is happening here? We see that there are other things that are putting economic problems for a lot of countries is the number of immigrations, and specifically this is focusing on Africa. And you see with the conflict that was happening in Syria, the most amount of immigration. And this affects you guys as a generation. This is happening now. All right. We see no big surprise that there was a change in the types of religious affiliations and people that were immigrating to the United States. Big rise in Christian populations, and we saw again a rise in Christians, and the Muslims declined. Right, and that was just a window into the politics that were happening in our country. All right, we have a big increase here, and this is all about the number of foreign students coming in, looking to get educated, because we are still the best country in the world, and people want to get a piece of that action. All right, next. So we go down here, and we can look at that interpretation, okay, and then we can apply it directly to this, okay, some of the things we talked about. So this is, again, how things influence you as your generation. They're going to influence your aging. They're going to influence your perspective. How you vote, how society models itself, okay? So the way this thing works, so we're looking right here, this is looking at race and ethnicity, okay? And that's where it is right there, so okay. So we see that for my parents, mostly a white country, okay? We see with baby boomers, it's transitioning, Gen Xers, it's transitioning, and the millennials, roughly a little over 50% were white, and we had big changes in Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, etc. Okay, let's look at the population growth. We'll click down here. Okay, and so you see that there was a big burst in the population here. That's my generation because of post-World War II. This is the baby boomers. Okay. Subsequently, okay, we can look at Gen Xers right here. Not as many population. Okay, I only had 2 children. A lot of people had 1. Okay, the millennials, there's been a little bit of a burst. Okay, so it's a real fun thing to look at, and what the graph does is allows you to visualize what's being talked about here. Okay, so you guys are better educated than prior generations. Okay, and we can look at that right here. We can look at male education. Okay, this is college education, bachelor's education. What's interesting is you don't see a big change in males right there. So we saw this, steady increase, but the dramatic increase happens when we look at female education. All right. So we can see from generation to generation, more and more people are getting college educated. All right. We can look at things like the workforce. Okay, sorry. And again, we can look at male labor force. Okay. All right. So we see right here that we're going from civilian to boomers to Gen Xers, etc. Again, this is as of 2017. Okay, so people are retiring out right here, like so. Okay, females. Okay, we see this big burst right here, this increase. That's the whole point of this, is just to read through this and then kind of see what the graphical impact is when you play with that. And then, but I do want you to read through it all. Okay. All right. You see that prior generations were much more likely to be in the military. Okay. All right. We see that there is this move to urbanization. All right. Okay. So that's what that's all about. We can go back over here to our reading. Okay. And I want to discuss a couple things here. Again, look at the economic peril that Russia is going to be into, because they're losing their youth that usually drives the economy through employment, and more people are older age will be in the retirement stage. Okay. What else did I want to show you? I want to come down here. Again, we're looking at where the United States stand. We are right here about 7.1%. This is your total economy. This is a measure of the total economy. And you see, Italy is very burdened by the number of retirees. Okay. Alrighty. We talked about this with respect to China. When you have more pensioners, less people, then you have to pay more into the system. That's going to be true of you guys as well. Okay. And then the last thing right here, when you have people working compared to the societal consumption. So this is right here. This is a great time. Okay. So there's more taxes. Everything's great. Okay. But when we go over here, then no, you're still consuming, but you're a drain on society. And that's what I wanted to point out to you. Alrighty. Very cool. I'm going to get out of that. Okay. That is our reading. This is the website that we're talking about. I do want to tell you that this particular discussion right here, we can click on this. It's going to take a while to come up. This is where we jump into the biology. Okay. Looks like it's not linking up. Okay, so I will make sure it comes up. All right. That's an awesome thing to find out. All right. But that's okay, because I want to show you where else it is. Okay. And it is located right here. Okay. Alrighty. So the idea is this is the same same reading that you're going to have for the following week, and then you go through this and you decide what it is you want to discuss on that. All right. So that is coming up now. All right. Pretty straightforward stuff. You know, what causes aging? Is it diet? Is it free radicals? Are your mitochondria old? I want you guys to read through this. Tell me what you think. Is it evolution? Okay. All of these things. Okay. I'm not going to go through read it word for word. You guys can figure this out. Alrighty. And I'm going to go and fix the discussion because that should have been there. Alrighty, guys. So I will get back to you and explain to you how to do your critical thinking assignment. And but you can hear in the background we're having a little construction done in the house because that's what people my generation do. Yeah, we take what would have been your inheritance and we invest it in our house because they have to pay off later on. You got to protect your investments, guys. Alrighty. Okay. We will see you guys.